Remember the 9-0 Supreme Court ruling that the Trump administration ignored by pretending that the ruling agreed with them? Like in the weirdest turnabout possible, a 9-0, which is insane, by the way, a 9-0 ruling for Thomas and Alito to agree on that ruling, and for the Trump administration to then say like, okay, well, actually, if we pretend that words mean things other than what they mean, actually they agree with us. Well, we have a follow-up to that now, and a much more severe one. No room for misinterpretation with this one. This is a pretty explicit block. Well, not like there was any room for misinterpretation with the last one, I guess, but the odds slim. A 7-2 ruling with, again, Thomas and Alito being the dissenters. 7 concurrence on a temporary hold to the removal of immigrants under the Alien Enemies Act. Now, the interesting thing about this one is the fact that it came out, I think, 9-10 hours ago, or around 2 a.m. Eastern time on a Saturday morning, which is a really unusual time for the Supreme Court to issue a ruling. Sometimes, I mean, there's nothing preventing them from ruling late into the night. It's just, they're all old and busy, I assume. They've got like important jobs. They have to take bribes. It takes time to take bribes. It just doesn't happen immediately. Someone's got to be there to accept the bribe. An issuing of the ruling at that time, I don't know. It's pretty strange. They were having a 12 Angry Men moment. Honest to God, I think you might be correct. I think Roberts might have pushed for this release schedule because he's pissed about the Trump administration ignoring the 9-0 ruling. Genuinely, I think that's easily the cleanest explanation for this, right? The Trump administration ignores a 9-0 ruling, so just a few days later, the court comes out with another ruling, which they push through as quickly as possible, which places a hold on the process. You can imagine how furious they were doing it on a weekend. Also, huge ups to the ACLU for pushing for this. In an emergency filing early Friday, the ACLU warned that immigration authorities were accusing other Venezuelan men held there of being members of the Tren de Aragua gang, which would make them subject to President Donald Trump's use of the act. Yeah, they went from an emergency filing to a ruling within 24 hours. That is insane. I'm a bit confused. I was under the impression that the Republican appointees had no remnants of a spine left. It's kind of difficult, Basically, like Of all Republican operatives, Supreme Court justices are the ones that are least susceptible to the what would you call it? I guess the zealotry of MAGA ideology, of fascism, because they are the most aesthetically opposed to it. That is to say, in order to be an advocate for MAGA, you have to be stupid or pretend to be stupid. J.D. Vance is not stupid, but he pretends to be stupid because that's how you push the ideology. The vast majority of people who believe it are stupid. You can't really be a Supreme Court justice if you're stupid. You have to be like a hack or corrupt or something, but stupid, that's tough, right? So because they are aesthetically conditioned to be like the intelligentsia of the right, as opposed to being like the dumb adherents of the ideology, it makes sense that they wouldn't buy into something like this quite as much, right? Like the Trump administration's buying into the whole, or they're pushing for the unitary executive theory. President above all, the judiciary is irrelevant. It probably rubs their egos the wrong way. And Roberts may be a stupid piece of shit, but he's not MAGA, He's like Reaganite conservative. So this is what you mean with internal contradictions in the system leading to the instability of the regime? To a large extent, yes. Fascists abhor technocracy, right? Like, loyalty is the only thing that matters to a fascist, right? Your competence doesn't. So it's really, really, really difficult to run things like, civil services or the courts. Because if everyone is fucking stupid, if everyone's like only real job is sucking up to the dear leader, it's actually pretty difficult to get anything done. Like, look at here, hold on. I saw this comparison made, which I found absolutely delightful. Hold on, there was this dumb little 20-something who got, here we go, appointed to the office of the Secretary of Defense at the DOD. These are the first facial hairs this motherfucker has ever grown. Look at this kid. This kid, 23-year-olds directly at SES roles, payroll, actual researchers, scientists, and SMEs with more experience than this kid had literally been alive get fired. We're cooked against China, bro. It's over. It's true. If you want to do like a shot for shot, take a look at any American executive branch official and compare them to their Chinese counterpart. You know, go to the CCP, find, well, who do they have leading that department? And over in China, you know, and I maintain the Chinese Communist Party is fascistic, though obviously there are degrees to this sort of thing, right? But like they have actual technocrats, you know, leaders, experienced people. Over here, it's just loyalty, man. It's literally just like loyalty and nepotism. Gillern said in a Friday evening hearing before District Judge James E. Boasberg in Washington, D.C., that the administration initially moved Venezuelans to its South Texas immigration facility for deportation. But since a judge banned deportations in that area, it has funneled them to the Bluebonnet facility where no such order exists. Love that, by the way. Love, and this is like a consequence of the argument the administration has made with regard to the jurisdiction of federal judges, where like, oh, this federal judge says that we can't do this thing? Move them over to another ICE detention facility, you know? Bring them over. They haven't gotten Boasberg yet. No, but Boasberg is considering holding the administration in contempt, which is, which would be fun to watch. Just check the closest equivalent in China has like 40 years of service. Yeah, that sounds about right. 7-0 ruling, man. All the Trump appointees. Or sorry, not 7-0, 7-2 ruling. 7-2 ruling. Why would contempt be any different? Because that's a charge. That's not just calling them in for a court proceeding. That's a charge against them. You know, this is potentially massive. The news media hasn't even jumped on this yet because it happened so early in the morning today. I mean, or late last night, depending, I guess, on your time zone. This could signal a war between the administration and the Supreme Court, which is crazy to think about. But it's difficult to interpret this as anything other than a rebuke of the administration after they ignored the 9-0 ruling. And it's still 7-2, right? It's not a 5-4. Like, it's everyone but Thomas and Alito. And I would never expect Thomas and Alito to do anything good ever. I still don't know why they ruled in the 9-0. I mean, how is the administration going to respond to this? Because with the previous one, they could pretend, oh, it agreed with us by lying. With this one, this is really explicit. We also don't have the dissent yet from Thomas and or Alito. So I guess we'll see. I think they'll just ignore the court again. Possibly. We'll have to see. But that would be a massive escalation. Will they even write a dissent? Thomas and Alito from the majority opinion? Absolutely. Either a concurrent dissent or two separate ones. I don't know what the dissent would be. Like, we hate black people scrawled in crayon. I don't know. I could see Thomas doing something like that. Why was this 7-2 and the last one was 9-0? They haven't written the dissent. Man, Boasberg looks like the, what's his name? Uncle Fester from the Addams Family, doesn't he? Or am I thinking of a different character? Definitely someone from the Addams Family. Don't diss Fester. I'm not dissing Fester. Boasberg has been one of the most aggressive judges against the Trump administration. He's threatening to hold them in contempt. Oh, Lurch. Am I thinking Lurch? I think... No, I'm thinking of Fester. He's just a skinny Fester. No. I'm thinking Fester, man. He looks just like Fester. He just doesn't have a double chin. He's got the same... like, really hooded brow. And, like, the... You're seeing it here, yeah? Don't let the fat disguise the similarities. You'd be horrible detectives, you know? I could commit triple homicide, then gain 60 pounds, and you motherfuckers would be like, no, there's no shot. That 6'2", you know, dirty blonde guy with rose gold octagonal glasses and a beard and a double RL shirt and has too big of a chin. I don't know. Dirty blonde? Yeah. What would even be the mechanism to enforce contempt upon the Trump administration? No one knows. We've never been here before. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. The Supreme Court is well positioned to challenge the administration, in large part because the strategy that this administration was banking on was that legal challenges that went to the Supreme Court would just get smacked down by the 6-3 conservative majority. Like, this is a wing of the administration's defense, the unitary executive theory is good and all, but you always need courts for something. You can't literally get rid of the courts, right? Like, you need courts to adjudicate stuff that doesn't even relate to the executive. I mean, there's always something going on. So direct antagonism between Trump and the Supreme Court doesn't work in his favor. Certainly, I would prefer the Supreme Court being antagonistic towards him than Congress, because Congress is useless. Alito's forthcoming statement could lay out the conservative case for allowing the deportation to continue. I want the dissent. Give me the dissent. With this ruling, we see who really controls this nation, and it's not the elected president. We're seeing that the autocratic deep state does exist, and these judges are its enforcement arm. Guys, I've just learned about the Supreme Court, and I'm pretty sure that judicial review is basically what the deep state means, or something. Type shit. I don't know. We're deluding ourselves if we think we still live in a free USA. Those days are long gone. Man, we really need, like, Reconstruction or something, huh? Like, it is genuinely crazy that half of the country thinks the definition of democracy is a dictatorship. And anytime the dictator doesn't get what he wants, they're like, well, we don't live in a free society, I guess, because the king can't do whatever he wants. I can't say the quote. It's a good one. Past a point, you have to appreciate why Lenin started... I'm not sure. I don't remember. Writing theory? I don't know. I've never been a re-education camp guy. I've never really believed in them. I don't really think they work. All of this has been done in China. Yeah, but like, they were doing it for gay reasons. They were like, hey, Muslims in the Xinjiang province, stop having beards. Stop having hats. Like, what the fuck is that? Unironically, I'm starting to see why those revolutions went down that way. Yeah, it really does make you, appreciate the historical complexity of it all. I'm definitely starting to believe less in a pure democracy. I mean, it's not really a democracy when like half the population gets all of their opinions from an autocratic ruling class, right? Like my argument is that if you prevent that from happening, that's pro-democracy. Like same as keeping fascists from taking power. Like even if they get elected in, I don't give a shit. You know, like my argument against, say, for example, murder isn't like, well, murder's unpopular. If murder became popular, I wouldn't be like, oh, well, all right, I guess. There's like a moral argument to be had there. And I think you can do the same thing. So democratic vanguardism, I mean, right? Shouldn't that be like, no, like, isn't it a little fucking weird to be like, yeah, land of the brave, home of the free, whatever? Shining city on the hill, gleaming silver tower, the ivory horse or whatever, democracy, center of the world, center of the free world, and then like capital owners get fucking mad that they're only making 400% every decade on their estimated returns rather than 800%, so they fucking stage a fascist coup. Petroleum billionaires are angry that they're getting outclassed by tech billionaires, so they dump money into Murdoch and Fox News and shit to convince people that the deep state is when the Supreme Court issues injunctions against illegal behavior from the presidency. I mean, like, is that democracy? I don't know. It seems kind of to me. Well, anyway, it's a huge deal. I'm also trying to find, like, any news coverage of it, but because these dinosaur-ass news agencies don't respond quickly. Oh, MSNBC finally just did a big dump. Me too, as soon as the stream is over.
Breaking overnight, the Supreme Court has ordered the Trump administration to halt efforts to deport alleged Venezuelan gang members under the Alien Enemies Act. The 1798 law gives the president broad wartime authority to deport non-citizens based on their country of origin. But the Trump administration is attempting to use the law outside of wartime and against non-state actors. It's the latest crescendo in the fight to protect due process rights as Team Trump tests the limits of executive power to implement an unprecedented deportation effort. That fight is happening not just in the courts, folks, but in Congress as well.
Don't you think Trump could use the Supreme Court ruling as an excuse to enact martial law? I don't really think he needs an excuse, but you are correct that the 420 deadline hits tomorrow, and it would be kind of wild if he was like, following the Supreme Court's decision to hamstring our ability to remove dangerous, murderous, rapist, terrorist, criminal alien from our country, we have no choice but to invoke the Insurrection Act. Yeah, something like that, maybe. But if he does say that, he would have done it anyway. It's not actually like a justification.
Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen confirmed...
We'll talk about this in a sec.
Met this week with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who the Trump administration says was mistakenly deported to an infamous prison in El Salvador last month. This, as the Republican chair of the House Oversight Committee tells two members of Congress he won't approve, quote, a single taxpayer dime for a congressional delegation to visit Abrego Garcia and attempt to secure his release.
Oh, I thought we'd get a little bit more info than that, but that's okay. I actually hate information. Whatever. Keep your eyes to the skies, folks. It's gonna be a rough couple of. Still haven't bought a watch. It's gonna be a rough couple of years. Also, you wear your watch in the left hand, if you're right-handed, which I am. I feel like I should be left-handed. I'm a homosexual. I'm an artist. I can draw. I play D&D. I'm a socialist. I should be a left-handed. I don't know why I'm not left-handed.